everybody.
Welcome.
Number
Bienvenidos.
12. Yes, 12.
Yeah.
My favorite number.
Dirty Dozen.
My favorite number.
Why is that?
High school
Basketball number.
All comes back to basketball. Good old
good.
number 12.
good.
Actually, senior year I was 13. All right, they didn't have 12 available.
Oh,
No.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. 13 was cool though.
You're a senior. You should have had the number you
The one
wanted.
I wanted, but it was close.
Was it ripped?
Sometimes
Was
in
it
life,
dirty?
You just have to have new plans.
Okay.
Just like
Ooh.
finding a new job.
That's a great
I found a
segue.
New Jersey, you find a new job.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Today's topic is finding a teaching job. All right. So let's start. Ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, so going back in our childhoods, we're going to just talk a little bit about our first jobs and how we found those and how they may have planted some seeds with us.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
just as you're listening, be reflective about the things you've already experienced. And not that you would actually maybe put all these on a resume, but they are encouragement to you.
Yeah.
They are part of your personal legacy and history, and you should be knowledgeable about them, comfortable about them, and walk into your search for a teaching job knowing that you have all these credentials, even if it's not a second career, which we are going to talk about in this episode. But Pablo, how did you get started in the workforce? Or maybe before the workforce?
Yeah, I think it's before the workforce. Let's talk about some of the things that led up to being a teacher. And that is, so I started out, my first job was washing cars for Avis. And so I was
Avis
18-year-old, Avis Car
Yeah,
Rentals,
okay.
first job ever. Again, played basketball forever. That's what I focused on. At least I figured out that I wasn't going to be a pro. I think that was actually my first job. I was very dedicated to basketball. Day in, day out.
Yeah.
If I was going to be a pro, which I knew early on I wasn't, but I wanted to play basketball as long as I could. I learned a lot about teamwork, about give and take. A lot of good things to learn from sports in general.
Yeah.
But anyways, I went to go wash from cars, and what washing cars for a year told me is something really important.
Clear
I don't like washing cars. At least I liked at the time washing my own car, buffing it out, but not everybody else's. So and that's important. If you're in a job that you do not like, get out.
Yeah.
Do not suffer through it. But I understand. I understand if you're trying to put food on the table.
Yep.
You have a family. You have obligations. Of course. But short of that, go find something.
Find another path.
Find something that you're more interested in.
We believe you can.
No, absolutely.
It's out there for you.
Shortly after that, 2 to 3 temp agencies were working odd jobs. Then my friend and I got together and said, hey, you want a DJ? You want to buy this DJ kit? And I'm like, yeah, let's go do it.
Really?
So we became wedding DJs for the most part. And we did private parties as well. It allowed me... It was my first foray into entrepreneurship and probably my last at the time. Mm-hmm. And I still have those kind of inclinations to go and do that, but it really allowed me to learn a little bit about business and handling money with a partner and a colleague and just trying to understand the whole side of business, marketing, the whole nine. And so there were some valuable lessons to be learned there. Fast forward. No,
hold on. I even see a connection to the classroom. Like a DJ has to walk into a room and you're the entertainment.
Absolutely.
And that's not unlike what a teacher does, even though it's not just entertainment, but reading the crowd.
That's a great point.
There's all those ties about how do you set a mood, how do you get people to do what you want.
Yeah. Get up. Let's do the chicken dance.
Yeah, right?
What a staple that is. So then I went on to Ivy Home Health, which is basically instead of the pharmacy that you're traditionally that you traditionally go into to get your medications and such. Ours was in private industrial areas and such, where we mixed. Almost everything was IV Home Health, from hydration.
You're talking about IV, like intravenous
medications.
Okay.
From pain medications to hydration medications. A bulk of our clientele were either pregnancies, so mothers who couldn't stay hydrated.
Wow.
And at the time, HIV patients.
Okay.
So we had tons of those. And I'll tell you, I think
So were you doing actual health care? Like you would give people
Not
injections?
myself. So we had RNs that worked for us as well.
Yeah.
We had full, So what I did was I either mixed or delivered the product. So as a pharmacy technician, I'd mix the product.
Yeah.
In some cases, I would deliver the product.
Yeah.
And especially when I first got hired on to the pharmacy, I actually worked as a driver, then moved into the farm tech position.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of a hybrid position. However, the one thing that I learned, I guess, at a deeper level was being empathetic. Because we had a lot of people pass away from HIV. Basically, we were just supporting them through their pain meds.
Wow, that's tough.
There would be constant pickups, and you knew when we were picking up from that home or that apartment or that house that we knew that a patient had passed.
Wow.
And
empathy.
And in certain cases, you were able to meet families.
Yeah.
And you just had to deal with death, and it taught me a lot. And in education, you deal with a lot of different families, and everybody has their own story. So I think empathy is huge, whether it be in education or just in life. So
for sure,
it's making me a little sad thinking about that time. Yeah, but anyways,
let me bring the mood up.
Yeah,
in that job, you mentioned kind of a hybrid position, driver and pharmacy tech. So remind me later when we talk about teaching and how to position yourself to be a good, desirable candidate. We're going to talk about a little bit about dual certification.
Sure.
And some of those other ways where you can kind of fulfill more than one role for a principal or a site that make you a good candidate. So that's kind of like you were doing double duty for that company.
Yeah.
You're valuable. You're valuable.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Woo!
So me, so I was first just grateful to have every opportunity to work, paper routes, mowed lawns, babysitting, all those things helped me understand the world of work and time management and time and money and effort. But specifically, I taught swim lessons. So I had students come to my house, and then I would just have a schedule set up and I would teach those lessons. And that was good. I really, really liked it. It was like hands-on. It was like get in the pool, swim to me. I'd model the stroke. They would do it.
Did you need to be certified in some way, or is this
no?
private?
This was like just like
you
friends.
could swim?
Friends of the family. Yeah.
Like teach my kid to swim.
Yeah.
Nice.
And what's interesting, and it was largely because we had a pool and I could swim. Yeah. I went on to join the high school swim team, but that was until my sophomore year. So I was doing these lessons when I was younger, like 13.
Not to get off the track, but what was your main stroke for swimming?
Long distance, like the 100 breaststroke and the 500 free. I was a slow swimmer.
Okay.
Slow and steady.
Right. You did it though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Then tutoring, I would tutor my sister in math, a neighbor, so there's a little bit of teaching experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Babysitting, that kind of fits in that category. And then I had some leadership positions in high school and the church youth group where, like, every once in a while you would design kind of like a workshop or seminar or an event, and you would kind of facilitate is probably a better word than teach. But there was some of those experiences too. So those all kind of laid the groundwork for connecting to teaching. They weren't teaching, but they were all experiences that sort of put me in the role of, number one, working with other people. Yeah. Like nobody, like when I look back, I wasn't doing things like programming a computer. Like all these things I was working with, well, I guess mowing the lawn. But again, that was not my favorite. I think I just had an insight about myself. So I like working with people. Yeah. From like my whole life. Thanks, Pablo. This has been great. All right. So
therapy.
So what about you as you got into, how'd you get into teaching and find that first teaching job, or what was that followed?
Real quickly, so I'll try to get through this part quick. Since I was working at a pharmacy and decided to go back to school now. So this was between my 18s and my early 20s, 23, 24. Anyways, decided to go back to school, headed off, and I thought I was going to be a pharmacist because I'm in pharmacy. It's
the career path.
Yeah. After a while of, just doing my general ed and stuff, I just knew that was somewhat of a snooze fest. I didn't want to be a pharmacist anymore. So fast forward again, I'm deciding to be a physician assistant.
Okay.
You know, somewhat of basically in the medical field, a doctor, and that was it. So went to Florence Griffiths Joiner School. I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but this is all part of the story. Yeah. That I just fell in. I was trying to bump up my resume to apply for this medical school that I wanted to go to, but you know, push came to shove. There was a few other things that made the decision easier, but decided to go in education. Fell in love with the kids that I was mentoring, and applied to Chapman University, their program. So I got in there, and the rest is history in terms of I've got a bachelor in science and kinesiology. And then shortly thereafter, my wife's a teacher. I'd been subbing a little bit. Yeah. And I got into a credentialing program with Azusa Pacific University. Yep. It was an internship program, which is a lot different than a lot of the other programs. And it just, halfway through the program, I was offered a position.
There you go.
And it was just trial by fire, so to speak. You're in the classroom. And you have a bunch of students, and you never taught a day in your life other than substituting a little bit.
So no student teaching, to be clear.
Student teaching. Right. This was the student teaching. So I wouldn't do it I don't know any other way, but I wouldn't do any other way.
Get paid.
Get
paid to learn.
Yeah, just get paid. It's nice. Yeah. It was nice, but at the same time, you learn to ask a lot of questions, and then you learn to not ask a lot of questions and just go with your gut and your instincts. And I think it trained me for, the career path that ultimately that I'm on today. So, that's kind of my story and how I got to where minus. We didn't get to where, but that's my teaching story. And I taught for 13 years in the classroom, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, math, science, and technology mainly.
Mine's very similar and I don't know if you said this, but my credential program put me in contact with a district that had kind of like an emergency substitute teacher position that was open. So I started working. The classes were in the afternoon and evening. And then that was a long-term special ed position. So it was like a semester or a little bit more, teaching middle school RSP, resource specialist. And then at the end of that year, then there was a position in the district teaching 9th grade English. And I liked middle school. I didn't intend to leave, but I had heard about this position, and it's just funny, had a memory. It also entailed, they said, I played football in high school, and there was a coaching position, and somehow that came up, and they said, go interview with the principal, and then we're going to set you up with an interview with the turned out to be a room full of coaches. And the principal liked me for the position, the English position. So it was like I was in the district, I was in sort of a known quantity, which is kind of like one of our tips is to get experience in the district that you want to teach in.
Great tip.
But the principal liked me. Football interview did not go well. They did not give me a call back. They did not. They saw the lack of desire in my eyes.
Like he's a swimming coach.
Yeah. So, but they were great guys, and I'm just glad they didn't call me because I wouldn't have been. Right. I would have been excited about that. So my university, the teacher ed program, really helped me find those connections. I think the big thing to keep in mind is ask people, like, where can I get hired? Where are there openings? Where can I do? In my case, it was called a pre-intern. It wasn't even an intern program because they had such a high need in that school district. But similar to an internship.
Can I interject there? So I will say this, that every student or every peer that was in my cohort had the opportunity to apply at the district that I applied for, and there wasn't one taker. Now, that's the power, we've talked about this before as well. Power of yes. I know you think you're not ready. You've never been in the classroom outside from maybe substituting to take over your whole class. People weren't comfortable with it. And me, maybe being a little bit older than some of the students in the class, and I've had other experiences where some are just finishing up their degrees and moving on. I'd had previous experiences. Maybe that did prepare me for, take a chance. Say yes. It might be a little bit harder on you. You're going to be working full time and you're still going to school at night, but give it a go. I mean, falling on your face is okay too. It is okay. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You can't play it safe all the time.
Yeah, and that was part of me saying yes to the football interview. When they asked, I was like, I've played football.
Yeah.
I know what it is. I'm going to say yes. They can decide if I'm a good fit, but I'm not going to be like, no, I don't think so. So, yeah, just go for it.
Like, I think we've talked about this too. Perfect is the enemy of like done.
Yeah.
And this is mostly in editing and things that we talked about,
Yeah.
you know, with our passions, but as far as filmmaking goes,
Yeah.
but that is also true. You're not always going to be perfect
Right.
for the job,
Yeah.
but if there's opportunity,
You could do it.
you can do it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for
awesome. Awesome. Well, we have a quote from an outside source. And so I have a couple that we've sort of curated. I thought
I'm looking forward to hearing this. Yeah.
So it was literally a Google search. So if you're finding a teaching job, Google's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Great assistant.
So, but a word of warning. So first Google search returned a book, and it's like how to get the teaching job you want. And Robert Fearson and Seth Weitzman are the authors. And I looked at it and I was like, hey, it looks good. It's got mostly good reviews. And then I started to read the reviews. And one said, you know, this book was written in 2004 and it's already beginning to show its age.
Yikes.
And that comment was from 2008. So that was 10 years ago. And then someone else wrote in 2014, since using their guidelines, I've landed 2 job interviews. But when I read through it with more detail, she was talking about like how to format a letter and how to format a resume.
Okay.
And so I would just be cautious, be judicious. I would say a published book maybe is not the go-to source in 2018. Maybe there's better online sources. So we're going to direct you to one of those, which is Jennifer Gonzalez. She's a well-known educator. She runs the Cult of Pedagogy website, and I think that's actually her Twitter handle is Cult of Pedagogy. So she has a great article. We're going to link it, and it's about getting a teaching job as a second career. However, this is what I love about social media and the web is one of the best things about this article was a comment somebody left. Okay. And so this is a comment by a guy named, I just want to get his name right. I don't know that it matters. He probably won't care. Yeah. Here it is. Wait for it. There it is. J.J. Duggan. J.J. Duggan left this comment, and this is from a couple years ago, and he said, in response to her article, which is chock full of good advice, so go read it, he said, I began teaching in my 40s after a career as a professional musician, so a day job was really an adjustment. I learned that I had to grow as a disciplinarian by winning the students' respect while also learning that organizing the class time was critical to keeping the lid on. I would advise new but older teachers to diversify a little more and have some extra arrows in their quiver. For example, and this is what we talked about before, dual certification might attract some schools who need to utilize their staff in more, quote, creative ways due to budget cuts. So I'm going to pause there. So that might mean a math and a science credential,
sure,
or like a math credential and then you test out of another area. Something like that, making yourself, or it possibly could be you're bilingual in an area of need for the school and have that teaching credential.
Yeah, a buddy of mine earned at the same time, was actually in my same program, my APU program, PE teacher and special ed.
Wow, there you go.
Certification. So,
yeah. So just to finish this comment out, this is gold, and this goes back to what Pablo and I were talking about. He says, I got my first job by agreeing to oversee the yearbook, and my second job by agreeing to run the school newspaper. So this is the power of saying yes. Like saying yes to these other duties led to him getting a job. And then he said that began an 8-year stint in the journalism area, and where the average high school newspaper advisor lasts 2 years, he said. And he learned things about the writing process that transferred to his academic courses and AP courses later on. And then he just ends with a great advice. Mainly my advice is believe in your students. If you don't find it, you need to find another profession.
Yikes.
But it's just really good content from somebody who has just been facing what you're asking. Like if you're searching for a teaching job, or you want to, or in a career and you want to think about teaching as a second career, there's people out there who are leaving comments, and you can find them on social media, and you can learn from their more recent experiences over a book that's published in Amazon. So we'll leave the links to those articles, but we highly advise you to check those out.
Absolutely.
All right, our tool for the week, which we mentioned in another episode, is EdJoin.
We have EdJoin, powerful search engine website for
multiple states have districts listing their teaching jobs there. So the thing is, don't think of it just like a place where you apply for a job. Think of it where you are able to research the kind of teaching job you like. So read job descriptions from all over the country. Read or contact people. Find out who's the hiring manager in this district that you would love to work for, but it's on the East Coast, and call them up and say, what would you want in a teacher? Even though you're not going to apply there because you're not able to move there, but use this as an awesome site for research to find out what you need to do to up your game to the level where you're able to get hired where you're at. So check it out. It's a great tool. It's amazing. You can also upload all your resumes and letters and documents there and just save them. So the next time you log in and there's a job opening, you just click attach, and it's simple.
Especially if you're in your, whether you are looking for a position as a teacher, or maybe you're in your first year 1, year 2, year 3, know that there is a lot of fluctuation. And like after my 4th year, was let go of my first district, not because I was doing a poor job. They just took the first 100. It's all based on seniority. So if you're in a union district, then you're going to have these types of things that you may have to deal with. And so you should always be prepared.
Yes.
And some of these tips are going to kind of lend themselves to how to actually get that job at the next place. Or maybe you just want to move out of your current position. I think your daughter actually was successful in that. I don't know if you want to tell that story.
Yeah, she worked a year in a school district and was looking for a different opportunity, one that was a better fit for her.
Sure.
And she got her current letters of recommendation, went out. She went to job fairs. Like, we live in the LA, Orange County area. She went down to San Diego for job fairs. She went to job fairs in Orange County, in the Inland Empire. She was out there pounding the pavement. Absolutely. And you know what? It was not long. It was not more than 2 months. She was still teaching, and she got another job. And she's excited about it, and she feels like it's a good fit. And she was just after it.
Right. And from city to city, county to county, state to state, maybe even country to country, there's different opportunities. There's different percentages of opportunity for teachers. In some places it's impacted. You might think, gosh, there's no teaching jobs available. And other places there's an enormity of teaching jobs. Can I give this one statistic? This is in the New York Post, just an article they wrote. In 1975, students going in as a major for having a major as education or for education was about 20% of the population of students. So 1/5 of the students going in high. That's 1975.
Wow.
Today, or I think maybe 2004, as of 2014, it was down to about below 8%.
Wow.
So we do have somewhat of a teaching shortage. Students just not looking at education. So you have opportunities, is what I'm saying. Might not be in the area that you want, but let's read this top 10 list.
I think
a little bit about that.
I think it's a top 8 list.
Because we've mentioned a few of them already.
Yeah, so number 1 tip is sub in the district or school that you love.
That's huge.
Just make connections with people and see if you think you love it, but spend some time working there as a substitute teacher while you're looking. Yeah. You want to do tip number 2?
Be willing to commute or move. Get out. Get out of your space. And that's what I just said, that there is opportunity. It might not be in your go-to or dream school, but you just might find your dream job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be willing. Be willing. It's that power of yes.
Yes. So give
yourself permission.
The first job I took, I didn't say this, but it was like 20 plus miles away from where I was. I'm like, I'm going to get in my car and drive there every day. Tip number 3, prepare a portfolio that you can bring to your interview. So collecting some evidence, some artifacts will help you be cognizant of the experiences you've had and help you think in detailed terms rather than abstract terms about how you're have what your journey to prepare yourself as a teacher has been.
Yeah. So next tip is to know how you're a fit for your school. So you may have some talents or some interests that lend themselves to being somebody that's going to be an ally for that school. Like maybe you have a special ed degree and there's a high population of special ed students, or it's an arts district and man, you have a talent in the arts. Show that, bring that to the table, highlight that.
That's a great example. We have a school, performing arts school, and the candidates should have known that and talked up any art experience they had. Like if you're going to be the head of that school, this is for a principal, you should be talking about how you're a fit for that school of the arts. So have a 5-year plan. So this sounds crazy at first. You're like, I just want to get a teaching job. But think of it this way. In 5 years, how are you going to be positioned to be teaching in the district you want? So maybe it's first you teach at a private school where it's there's less competition, and maybe you don't even need a credential, so you could work and get your credential at the same time. Then you move into a school in an area near your desired district or just outside of it, and finally plan by year 5 you're in the district you want, in the school you want. You've kind of been biding your time. Maybe you've even allowed multiple years for openings to come up and you to interview. Don't assume you're going to be successful getting into the school in the district you want the first time. Be patient. Make a plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, how about being a double threat?
Yeah, I like that.
How about you working on your teaching, your pedagogical, just your proudness of getting out there and being a teacher. Be proud to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But at the same time, bring in your real world experiences.
Yes.
Right? Like, put those together. That's a superpower right there.
Yeah.
That's a superpower. Just because you're in the classroom, don't just focus on just being a teacher, because it involves so much more. The teachers always talk about it. I have this hat, I wear this hat, I wear that hat, and it's completely true. Bring in your strengths. Pair them together.
Yeah, you never know when saying I have a passion for photography and a freelance business will strike a chord with the principal who's been wanting to offer a photography elective or start a photography club.
And we've been doing some of that stuff in our current positions. While we're not in the classroom currently, we've been working with some of the schools to go out and do some photography, video shoots and edits. It's been fun too to incorporate some of our strengths and some of our interests.
Yeah. Absolutely. So tip number next, I think it's number 7.
Next, I love it.
But it's just, remember that the principals and the people on the interview panel, they're not just looking at how you can put like a body in a teaching position. They're looking for this fit, and it could be something like you have an interest in the arts, or you have an interest in photography, or you're willing to, like they say, hey, would you mind coaching after school sports? The power of yes. So saying yes might put you head and shoulders above other candidates who said, they hesitated. Yeah. So just remember the principal is looking for this kind of multi-layered fit. They're not just looking for a one-dimensional candidate.
And just lastly, we're not going to belabor this, but you don't have to memorize all the acronyms, but just know the language. You have words like CAS, SBAC, PARC, SIPS, DIBBLES. It's all funny language. Just kind of understand it, but you'll get to know it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Social media shout out. We're going to give a shout out to 2 people. So Shelly Gibson on Twitter, she's a math instructional coach, I think North Carolina, and we want to recognize her for her Twitter stream of math and instructional coaching tweets.
Go Shelly.
Yeah. And then big shout out to Jennifer Gonzalez and the Cult of Pedagogy on Twitter.
Yes.
And we featured her article on getting a teaching job as a second career. Check her out. A wealth of information there as well. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the multitude of paths that you can take once you're in the beautiful field of education.
Number 12. Thanks a bunch for watching.
Thanks a bunch.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.